Hey, Dylan.
Hey, Mike.
Dylan, I'm going to tell you a little bit about the Sunburn engine.
Okay.
Just sit
You
back
do that.
in your
tell
easy
me.
chair and relax and listen to
Are
my
you?
wonderful tones.
You're telling me this, but I have a feeling you're speaking to the average.
I'm speaking
viewer
to the
or listener out
royal
there.
we. Wait, no, that's not right.
The royal you.
The royal you, yes. The royal... I don't even know what the hell that really means.
I am the fourth wall. You're speaking to me, and I'm like the fourth wall, and you're actually speaking to the listener out there.
Okay.
In his easy chair.
So they're the fifth wall, then.
Well,
right?
no, that we're going through
There's
the
a
fourth
door in the
wall.
fourth
I don't
wall.
know. No, the joke of the fourth wall is like, don't make me explain
front
the
of the
concept
stage.
of the fourth wall.
It's the front of the stage.
Yes. There's a wall. There's supposed to be a wall there, but
The
there
stage
isn't.
left, my left, or your left?
I don't think it matters.
Who's on stage? Am I in the audience?
Us, and you're talking to me, but you're not really talking.
So you're
to
still
me.
inside the fourth wall.
Yeah, like you're talking to me as
But
an
that's if we
excuse to talk to the
decide,
audience.
if we define inside as the walls around, but inside could really be all the people out there. Like they could really be trapped, and we could be free within here, and it's perception that makes them think they're free, but they're really not. They're just slaves to the machine.
That doesn't have anything to do with the concept of the fourth wall. I think you're just you snuck.
I've been reading a lot of that Monomyth book, and that is some deep, crazy shit, and I read a whole chapter, and I'm like, I don't know what the fuck I just read.
That is interesting. We need to save that for the actual
that'll be a whole
podcast to
episode, but like that's going to be a while because I don't know, so I'm a little confused on everything.
I have thoughts, but again,
Let me talk a little bit about Sunburn here real quick. We jest and joke around a little bit and poke on topics every now and then, but or quite often, but every now and then it's good to get back to just run down the basics of Sunburn Gaming Engine, what it is, what it does. I mean, it's made for getting AAA quality 3D visual effects in your XNA game, so that you can have the power of Unreal or a Unity 3D engine that exists. I mean, that's what Sunburn is. It is on that level of visual quality and fidelity that you can get with the performance. It's not Unreal, it's not Unity. There's differences, there's pros and cons between them all, both, but they stack up all quite well in visual fidelity. And it has a wonderful editor that we've talked about several times that you can go in and edit materials and lighting, and we did a little demonstration ad hoc at our last game group meetup here locally and kind of pulled it up, and you can place and duplicate 3D objects even. So I mean, you could use it as a level editor if you so choose to make that your design flow. Or at least for placing creatures and things and tweaking that up. And, it runs while your game runs. So at any point in the middle of the game, as you're playing through and you're playtesting, you're like, oh, that guy shouldn't have been there. He should have spawned over here. You just hit the magic, F12? F11?
F12, I believe.
F12 key, and you move him.
I don't know.
And then you jump bathis into the game. And now he's moved and it's saved with your data file, and, you're good the next playthrough. You've got that. A lot of performance on this engine, out of this engine for lighting. A lot of good support for materials and custom shaders. Very in-depth audio system for 3D audio and ambient sounds, collisions, physics reactions, component system for control of objects and lighting behaviors. You've got input manipulation, for abstracting your input devices. Single API works on multiple platforms, running on the phone, Windows Phone, Xbox 360, PC. As we've leaked here in the past. Metro is going to be added to that list pretty soon. You're going to see Metro up there, Windows stuff in the future. And then, some crazy stuff in the future, too, running everywhere. It's going to get you out of the Windows box, I think. That's my speculation. That's my thought, my take on things and where it's possibly headed. But it seems like it's headed in a good direction. There's easy asset creation. So there's tools for creating levels and characters that you can use with your favorite art tools, and then bring them in the engine and the editor, and like I said, place all of that. It's modular, so that only use what you need. If you don't need 3D audio, don't initialize a 3D audio. Don't even mess with it. If you're a developer, you're going to love this engine because it is very developer friendly. You go in, you register the game components of the engine that you want, and you're pretty much done. You can read the APIs and leverage more and get more power out of it, but you also can stick to the XNA that you know and love already. You don't have to give up what you don't want to. Just go in and use what it is. And then last, and we've hit on this several times, these guys are excellent on support, excellent community forums, excellent blogs and posts and updates, tons and tons and tons of example projects that they put out. So, I know we cover this every week, and we launch off this, and we pick a little thing and we have some fun with it. But really, you can download the Sunburn framework for free. The engine is licensed, it's $150 if you're XNA Creators Club, App Hub, formerly known as Indie Games, whatever it's called today. If you're that, you get the indie license, $150, and start rocking your game. You can get in there, and then you can step up to the pro version for $250, and that's everything. That is all features. That is all the things in there. And then there's another tier that you'll see if you go in the thing. I think it's $1,000 or something. But that's the I made it tier. That's the, hey, I'm making, 50,000 or 20,000.
Yeah, publishers picked me up.
$100,000. I don't know what the number is, but yes, your publishers have picked you up. You're doing good. And that's almost the pay it forward level, of like, hey, obviously this is worth a lot more than $150 that we do this, and we give, the framework away for free. You can use that and just have a splash screen requirement. But that's just kind of the pay it forward, and support these guys. And, I really hope to be able to announce some crazy, crazy new awesome things for Sunburn here in the coming months. I don't know when things get official and things get real, but man, these guys are cooking up some stuff. I mean, they are working on some amazing shit. There's just no other way to describe it. So go learn more and check all this out at synapsegaming.com. All right, everyone, welcome to the show, episode 101. We are past the 100. It's all back to normal. We're an old married couple. It might get a little passive aggressive in here for a change.
It already does.
Well, we have to go somewhere with it, right?
Like you're saying, like an old married couple, as if you are not an old married couple.
Sir, we've just now been married 2 years. We're just officially in our second year.
Officially, we're an old married couple.
I was going to say, you lived together how long before that? You dated how long before that? I mean, it's like you're in second grade, but you're passive aggressive at a fifth grade level. I've seen things, man. I've seen things. Right here on this podcast. You can see them too, dear listener.
You've been pulled in the middle of them on Twitter. You wanted to mention some Final Fantasy IV? You went back and played or something?
I don't remember if we talked about this last show, because you had gone over... We covered Chrono Trigger, I felt pretty well, as far as, like, that episode, that's good. Yeah.
Close the books. I hadn't finished it at that time. I did finish it. I got really pissed off at the final battle, because there's just some random-ass bullshit that you can die. Just, Lavos will smack you for 1,000 to each character. You can't have more than 999 health. And, yeah, if you just are unfortunate to get that random roll a couple times, boom, done, wiped out. And it just seems like a lazy way to make this quote-unquote hard, like, oh, I died at, all that for, unfortunately, you see past a mechanic like that, and then it's just pissing you off, because there's nothing that I did the first time that I met Lavos to die like that, and I battled him for quite a while. Enough to kind of figure out the method of attack to take him down. Like, I had that pattern down. I had never used, like, my potions, all my good potions, all my revive potions, all my heal everyone and MP up all. So, like, it's Lavos now, right? So, like, we're down, like, half health. Fuck it, chug a full everything. Everybody's 100%. So, I mean, I was in that for that fight. I rage quit the fucker after that. I think the day following, I was like, all right, I'm going to go into this. I'd said, I didn't think I'm going to go back into this because there's a lot of fights and stages to get through to that part. Like, it's a good hour, maybe, to do that final fight from the last save point. But then the second time through, got it, saw the little ending. So, it's okay. I mean, I can see the appeal. I can definitely see the appeal. I think it's going to be really hard still for me to go back and play Final Fantasy.
Oh, the original?
The original. And I intend to do that.
And you're playing the NES version and not the Game Boy version.
Correct.
And you're not using an emulator where you can do save states
Correct.
and stuff like that. Yes, it is going to be interesting.
It's going to be
very interesting.
I can see the love and appreciation for Chrono Trigger. I'd give it a good B. It's a good, okay game. But aspects of the combat annoyed me still. Like,
yeah.
It's still, even though it was in the active time combat, and so I know going to games before Chrono Trigger is not going to get better for me.
Final Fantasy, like active time combat, where each character has their own action meter, is going to get interesting, especially when Final Fantasy doesn't. You register all your commands at once. If you have 3 people who attack one enemy, and one of them kills that enemy, the other ones are just going to do an attack. They're going to swing at the air and miss.
Nice.
It's so annoying.
So that's what I mean. Like all those little improvements that came over the, like it's going to be hard going backwards.
Yeah.
I may, after Final Fantasy, attempt to pick up Dragon Warrior again and play through it, merely because of like the last week when we talked about the history of RPGs and how like Final Fantasy and Dragon Warrior like are the alpha and omega of like the JRPG. Like they kind of represent the spectrum and always have been these pillars.
I think we'll talk about this later, but I think part of it comes from, the time period. Like, when all you have is Dragon Warrior and Final Fantasy, you are thankful for that. Like, that is amazing to you. But what was interesting to me, when I went back and played Final Fantasy IV, I kind of had the same, or a similar reaction, because when I was growing up, I rented that, and I played through almost to the end of it. I don't know, should I get into spoilers?
On Final Fantasy IV?
Yes.
I don't think I'm gonna trudge through all of them.
I got to the point where you get to the moon, and you do get to the moon. What was interesting was my argument has always been that I didn't really like the later Final Fantasies because, especially in 7, especially in 10 and 13 like that, you get this this meshing of sci-fi, high-tech kind of style and fantasy. And I wasn't big on that. Of course, I was thinking back to the original Final Fantasy, which has, the ancients have some sort of weird technology, but, everything else is very medieval. And then Final Fantasy III, where it's kind of this diesel punk, steampunk type of thing, or proto.
Yeah, which was kind of interesting learning that on that background thing, because I didn't know that Final Fantasy started out messing with the high fantasy mixed with high science fiction,
Yeah.
I didn't realize...
It's not as obvious in the earlier games. It's especially not obvious in the first game.
Right, but I mean, it's there. Elements of that were there, and I didn't realize that started that long ago.
Yeah, I didn't either. I had played the games... And, as I got in farther in Final Fantasy IV, I started realizing, well, wait a minute, there is some sort of hovercraft, and while you can't really get it from the 16-bit graphics, it seems like there's a certain level of technology there, even though there are castles and, all the things you expect in a fantasy game.
You say the Mode 7 wasn't up to it?
No, what really got me was one of the later battles in the game, or one of the battles in the game once you come back from the moon. You go to the moon in a spaceship.
Yeah, that's pretty much a science fiction at that point.
You fight a giant robot.
Well, wait, hold on. Is it like a space shuttle spaceship? Or is it like a pirate ship floating in the air that magically goes to space?
It's more like the pirate ship.
Is it made of wood?
No, it's not made of wood, but it's sort of this legendary artifact that you've kind of summoned up from, I want to say, the depths of the ocean or something.
Yeah, it came from Atlantis.
Seriously?
No.
No. Well, I didn't know if you were, filling in details that I didn't know. It's just one of those funny things that because they were using retro graphics, like I've always had that issue with like, man, I like the old tile-based games because they were all fantasy. You know, they were straight up low fantasy. You know, they weren't any of this crazy stuff. When in reality, it was just with 16-bit, like with the retro graphics, I could fill in whatever my mind wanted to. And honestly, I want a storyline that is not like, you know, super larger than life. I want to deal with, you know, the settings and the characters kind of in a level where you can relate to them and engage them and not, you know, not be constantly reminded that this is this fantastical world and, you know, these guys are super powerful and all that.
So, other gaming, I did a lot of procrastination. So that meant I finished Portal 2, started and finished, over last weekend. Portal 2 is, like Portal 1, is not actually that long of a game. Liked it a lot. Thought that, they did a good job bringing in new mechanics, and, you know, they add a few new mechanics and things to the game. Then it's not complicated, and, you know, I kind of like got it, and alright, so I can do these 2 things, and, I mean, again, Portal is such an excellent tutorial game, right? The tutorials never stop in Portal, almost.
Yeah.
Like, it's constantly, like, teaching you little things, and
because you're constantly
my oldest
moving
daughter,
incremental.
Well, my oldest daughter played Portal, and it was kind of really impressive to watch her play it, and just, you know, watch somebody else play it, you know, she's 12 and hasn't played a lot of these type of first-person shooter games. She did have a lot better control of her first-person avatar than some others who... Now, see, Dylan looked over at you. I didn't look over at you.
I've just started to. I understand that the passive-aggressive...
yeah. You understand the cues. So,
I'm pretty sure you also said this on Twitter.
Yes, he did.
Well, yeah, because she was on Twitter, like, you know, all frustrated about, like, you know,
Rachel. The story! She's not listening to the damn story!
Well, you know, I don't think you have to, and I don't think as kids we paid attention to 100% of the story anyway, like... True. I mean, I think if you're at a point where...
She was most of the way through the game before she got the cake reference.
Well, yeah, but Portal is a game that doesn't have, like, it's not hitting you over the head with a story.
No, and you get, like, the cake reference comes up so many times, like, eventually, like, you know, you'll pick it up. It's not,
Are you on the internet? Good, you probably know the cake reference.
And you know, again, to, you know, what you're talking about, like, when we were that age, we were not, like, going through with a fine-tooth comb, stopping and reading every text, you know, and checking things out. They're just like, fuck it, I want to play the game. Get out of my way. And it does a beautiful job of getting out of your way. But it does a beautiful job of also teaching you in ways that, you know, so some of the ways were obvious, and then, I kind of pick up, and everybody talks about and pick up. I'm like, all right, so you start there in that little box room, and when the portal opens up, you, like, see yourself through the other portal walking through it to kind of, like, help orient you what's going around, and the radio's there to give you, like, an audible reference point. Like, when you walk through that, it changes stereo side, and you can kind of like, oh, these are what portals are. And you go into the next room, and there's just a big button and a block. And I was like, huh, okay. Well, I stand on this button and the door opens, but the subtle things, that you start picking up on is like the little blue line that comes out of the button and connects to the door, and that it lights up orange. And like how early that's kind of shown to you, so that when you go in like the next room and the next level, she's already picking up on, okay, so there's a button, okay, that button does that. And then there's a second button, because I see 2 X's on the door, but I can't see the other button right now, but I know it's going to be back there. And it's like the genius in, like, not just teaching, like, here's the basics of portals and here's how the gun's going to work, but, like, how the buttons and the mechanics are going to work, and the clever way in that it also just layers up some of the jump mechanics. So do you remember the room that had all of the little turrets in it, and it was really tall, and they were all in little pockets around this giant room, so you kind of had to, like, step out a little bit, shoot behind them, and work your way around and knock all the turrets off. And then what you had to do is, like, knock yourself through the floor, so that you got airborne, and then launch yourself off one of the 45-degree panels to go through the floor again to get up higher to place it while you're in midair, okay? So that when you go through it again, you launch really far the other direction. Well, right before you get to that scene, there is a panel that you go through that's at a 45-degree angle, but it really doesn't serve a purpose. Like, you don't have to use that panel to get where you're going. Like, if it would have been flat, it would have been fine. Like, you would have been able to get enough speed and go across the thing. But it's kind of at this 45-degree angle, just like saying, like, hey, 45-degree angles. You could put a portal on the top of that, and look, you launch at an angle. Isn't that interesting? You know? And then, you know, the next thing is like, hey, we're going to use that. And then we're going to use it again. The glass in the room with the rocket. So there's that turret that's training you for the final battle, by the way. So that's the same turret at the end that you use to shoot GLaDOS. When you walk into that room, it shoots you. But there's a pane of glass in front of you, and that glass shatters. Okay? And you kind of figure out, okay, I could get to the other side of the room, but there's a pane of glass, so I'm going to need to time it so that it hits that and it shatters that pane of glass. That glass looks different than all the glass that you've come up before. It's got like some stripes across the bottom, so that when you run out and go out and down the hall, you see that exact same glass again. And then it's kind of connecting the dots of like, oh, I'm going to have to go back, make a rocket fire through a portal, and smash that glass over here, teaching you that you're going to shoot the rocket through the portal, so that then when you shoot the air tube that drops the blocks, you can then climb up the vent and get out.
And the funny thing is, with the portal mechanic, it's all kind of obvious that this is how this stuff should work, but it's stuff that maybe you wouldn't put together. Like, oh yeah, well, if I can go through it, then something else, you know, if this was in the real world, this is how it would work.
But it's just a good job of here's a mechanic. There's no tutorial. There's no stop and, like sequelitis, where you're talking about the little Mega Man girl. You know, there's no, like, hey, Cell. Hey, Chell or Cell? How do you say her name?
Chell, I think. I don't know.
Yeah. Chell, like, look at that rocket thing. It locks on you, and then shoots a rocket, and it's like, yeah, and now there were little hints. So as Rachel got on and you start getting into you leave the test chambers, which then it is still kind of teaching. Like, there is a little teaching going on there, but a lot of it is like applied teaching now of like, okay, use what you know to navigate these moving pipes and things like that. So, I mean, they're a little bit more difficult than the test chambers. They don't rely on any new mechanics most of the time, but they don't have, like, the buttons connected to the door, so it's obvious where you're trying to go to. So sometimes you walk into a room, and it's like, I'm not sure actually where I'm trying to get to. And so to the last, couple stages, I told her I'd sit there and help her. For the most part, I just stayed quiet. I just watched her to the point where, she would say something, and then I would just kind of be like, well, you have this portal gun, and it works on certain surfaces in the room, and there's some surfaces way up high, and she would be like, well, thanks for pointing out the obvious, and I'd be like, well, you missed the obvious, or I would reuse like lines that GLaDOS would say sometimes. Like, at one point, GLaDOS says, "Speedy thing goes in, speedy thing comes out," and that's what that would be like when she was like kind of stuck of like, you're going to have to get some velocity going and make a large jump. And I would just say, maybe speedy thing goes in and speedy thing comes out. Maybe that's what you need to do. And then there was another time where she could have just jumped the gap, but she was trying to get a portal thing to shoot her across. And, it was just barely missing it, but it was a really tight passage to try to get that going. And I was like, you could just try jumping. You could, try the simple thing first. But I was impressed that she got through the final battle of GLaDOS without any coaching from me. She died the first time, but she at least figured out how to get the guys in the fire pit. She just ran out of time on like getting to the third one. Now, the very end, I think she had 1 minute and 30 seconds when she got to the third core, and that's the one that's just floating. Yeah. Like, there's no ledge, and you got to grab it on the way down, and she's like, how am I going to get that? What am I going to do to get that? And it's like, she had like 90 seconds left, so I really didn't want to like be quiet and make her have to go through, the whole thing again. So, I just told her, I was like, you gotta grab it as you fall by it. And then she like, boom, portal thing, falling and grabbed it and got out. But, some of the thing was kind of funny of like how she hid from Gladys as Gladys exploded. Like, I don't know about you. I watched that whole thing like go up, because it's like, I'm just kind of trained by games to know when it's a scripted event and I can't be hurt, and when it's like I need to dodge.
Yeah.
But like I guess she was more taken in by the game. So like when Glass is being destroyed, like she ran back to the door and is like not watching any of that at all. But I mean, at some point it sucks you in. So she
and you
she
do what you would
that.
do if it was.
Yeah. So I played through Portal 2, enjoyed it. I think the story and kind of the personality of Portal 2 is actually better than 1. Although 1 is kind of cool because it's the setup.
Yeah.
But I think Portal 2, like once you get that setup, I think Wheatley is awesome. Have you played Portal 2?
No, I've not. I've gotten it.
You got it?
I'm thinking at this point it may be on my list after Final Fantasy VI.
It's like I said, I did it in a weekend, the single player. I'm now trying to, I think Nathan's played the single player, unfortunately on the Xbox, but he's setting up his new PC, and he was like, I'll get it on Steam. And I was like, you know what? I got like a 75% off coupon in Steam for it. I don't know why they sent it to me, but they did. And I'm like, I'll send you that. And because he did the single player, and I'm like, I'm looking for somebody to go through co-op now, because co-op has a whole nother story, and that kind of takes off after the single player ends. So I've heard that's really good. But you kind of need somebody that you can, like, all right, we're going to go through this. You're my Portal buddy. We're going to be online, and we're going to do this. And, you just don't want like a random.
Right.
Yeah. You want your first time to be with someone special,
Wow.
So yeah, so that was the week. We got a comment on our YouTube video for the 100th episode. That was basically like, I love you guys because, you guys cover a lot of the drama that I normally would miss in like the industry. And I was like, yep, you damn straight we do. We do a lot of that. It's an easy crutch to fall into, and we do got to get back to that list we made of topics, of specific game design topics that we can touch on. Extra credits, we are not.
Yeah,
but
I think
we're
at
trying.
some point we just, other stuff came up, there's other stuff going on.
Yeah, we got derailed from that, so probably post DevLink. Next week we will be out. I'll be at DevLink speaking. If you're going to be at DevLink, come see me. I've got 4 sessions I'm doing, 3 of which are game development.
I'm bringing spicy salsa.
So, come and see. It's going to be in Chattanooga next week. I don't know if they still have tickets or not, but it's a 3-day conference, about $100 to go to. Software Developer General Conference, but has a good amount of XNA being represented there. So I'll be giving several sessions there. So some drama. Well, this isn't drama. This is just info. I think we mentioned this, and I think this was leaked, but I guess it's official now that Unity support for Windows 8 and Windows Phone 8.
Not really a shocker.
I didn't see a direct confirmation this means Metro apps or the design language formerly known as Metro in supported.
As opposed to DirectX?
Well, I mean, so Unity, of course, can run on Windows 8 in legacy mode.
Right.
So that this means Metro apps, it means Windows 8 Marketplace, it means tablet.
Well, if they say Windows Phone 8...
Windows Phone 8 is not going to run the Metro apps yet, because Windows Phone 8 is an upgrade from 7 or something. Because Phone 8 can still support XNA and Silverlight.
I thought that was just going to be a legacy...
I'm not clear, honestly, and I don't think they are either. I mean, I don't know. So, but I don't know. So Microsoft was there announcing as well, so it seems like it would be a real stupid thing to come out and then say no Metro, No, we didn't mean the Metro thing. And it's like, then what the fuck did you mean by the 8? Windows 8, which again highlights how this is all confusing as shit.
I was gonna say, now. I can't really imagine You said Microsoft made this announcement.
They were there
Unity?
with them on stage.
Yeah, I can't imagine they would go like, Unity runs in desktop mode. Like, I get the impression that kind of the line from Microsoft is they want you to not
the line
think about
from Microsoft, I love it. The line from the Microsoft Senior Director of Windows App Marketing, John Richards, added, "We are excited that the Unity community will now be given the opportunity to develop world-class titles for Windows 8 and Windows Phone 8. First of all, the desktop, they have that. And the phone, are you shitting me? The opportunity to be on the smallest market. I do think they passed BlackBerry, but what the hell does that mean anymore? And even that was questionable, because I think the stats were the BlackBerry browser. Like, Windows Phone 7 IE has surpassed the BlackBerry web browser. But I don't web browse for my BlackBerry, so there's still probably more BlackBerries out there than the Windows Phone 7s, but they're just not heavy internet users.
Yeah.
So I guess that's good. The big news that hit this week, and it's kind of run its course, which is pretty good, but OnLive went through some major shit this week. So OnLive is the streaming service where I think they've gone to a pay monthly now subscription service. It launched, you bought the games, but that didn't go over well. And apparently the streaming service didn't go over well, because essentially what happened to OnLive, they were basically going to file bankruptcy. They were bankrupt. And there is some reformation of the company for benefit of the creditors, or there's right before you go bankrupt, you might be able to do this other weird thing. So one of the investors, I guess he bought all of the assets, but when you invoke this, it's kind of like the company does go bankrupt. Everybody's laid off. It's just assets and everything gets acquired by this new company. I think there's an agreement that the creditors or the principal investors have to be on. They're going to get I love the way they say it. They're going to get 5 to 10 cents on the dollar, which is a nice way of saying they're going to get 5 to 10% of the debts that they're owed. It allows OnLive to exist again. So it's technically, it kind of goes bankrupt and is bought out by another company, but it happens so quick, it's like everything transfers at once, so it doesn't have to go up to bid or auction or any kind of thing like that. But there's just a lot of shitty downsides. So everyone was laid off. Half were given offers at the new company. Okay? The other half were offered to consult for options in the new company. Now that's a fucking joke, because all of the stock and options at the old OnLive are worthless. They were all wiped out. So if you had any stock or ownership as a employee, as a developer there, all that's gone. They fucked you over on all of that. None of that's worth anything. You won't get anything for it. Wipe your ass with those shares.
So what was OnLive's issue? Was it just that they
owed $40 million. They were $40 million in the hole. So yeah, on one side it's like, okay, yeah, this is not, is the
issue that streaming is not taking off, or?
I think the issue is OnLive was bootstrapped, okay? They don't have the revenue yet to support what they're doing. And Sony bought Genku or something, another streaming service competitor to OnLive. I think they paid $300,000-$400,000 to that. And the rumors are that basically Microsoft approached OnLive of okay, we need to get this technology in our stable too, so we can't be trumped by a PlayStation move on the PS4, so that this kind of streaming thing can be built into Xbox. And they went in to buy, and apparently OnLive wanted $1 billion. So another Yahoo case of Microsoft went in, and they're like, no, since you're Microsoft, you've got all this money, we're worth all this. And Microsoft went, all right, well, we got smart guys, we came with the Kinect shit, and we'll just put our guys on it. And that's kind of the way it went. And then they realized There's nobody else out there. That was your other... If Sony bought somebody, Nintendo doesn't give a fuck. You're done. That's it. And the company was basically structured to be acquired. It was not structured to be sustained. It seemed like the reason they racked up all the debt was because they just launched fast, get a lot of subscribers, get the technology out there, prove the viability of it technological-wise.
Yeah, because this is kind of an early...
Yes.
It's a new technology.
And then get acquired by somebody who will then have the war chest to make it thing. Yeah. They missed their opportunity on that. They wound up with $40 million of debt. They're basically insolvent. They were going to have to go bankrupt. So it continues on in some form, but I don't see how that this gets fixed. Like, I don't see what is going to significantly change. You know, like, there's been no statement of, like, okay, now that we're out of that, like, we got rid of some awful contract thing, bandwidth price tier or whatever, right? That was killing us, and now we can negotiate at a much better rate or something. There's none of that. So this isn't exactly going to breed confidence in the service. No. So that was the big news this week. I mean, it started out because it kind of just leaked out, like, what was going on. And it's one of those things where, like, lawyers do this shit in the dead of night, you know? So it's all partial information. And it got really... The press coverage at the beginning of the week was really damning of, like, oh, they're pulling some corporate maneuver to fuck a whole bunch of people over and, you know, take control of the company and it's a takeover. And I think as it came out over the week, it was really like, they were bankrupt. That was really what was going on there. More EA ranting against Zynga. And Peter Moore out there now, and this is just disgusting, and, you know, how dare they, and this is just, you know, a blatant crime and all of that. And it's like, I'm getting a little sick of it. I'm getting a little sick of all these EA executives slamming Zynga as, you know, the corrupt and the despicable, and we're defending the little guys because we have the money to take it down.
Kettle black sort of thing.
It's not just a pot calling the kettle black, but it's a very obvious PR move to win the hearts and minds, you know. So even if they don't win the lawsuit,
Zynga is the bad guy.
Zynga is the bad guy, and we are trying to save all these other, you know, rip-off artists. I mean, I still kind of hope they win for it, but it is kind of a scary precedent once they do, because there will be the precedent that you change the art assets, you call it something different, but you're still too close to the original that you can be sued for it. That's going to get taken too far before there's a ruling that comes back. You know what I mean? Like, it opens up this gray area.
Someone out there is holding a copyright over a very old, you know, game.
Sort
of thing. It's probably just going to cascade down, because I'm playing right now a clone of an iPhone game that I've already played 3 times over.
I'm not talking about clones. I'm talking about somebody going off and making a brawler that's too similar to, you know, a brawler, or you make a fighting game that Capcom feels is too close to Street Fighter. You know? Like, that's going to happen now. And it's not going to be a Zynga ripoff, but I think we may find we were better off in the world where, yeah, you could do the Zynga ripoff. You know, you can do Fortress Craft. You can do that level of...
I can't imagine a company like the example of like Capcom on a fighter, or even like a brawler like Final Fight is the only one I think of, which is several generations too old. But I think, you know, once you get into, you know, get out of the casual arena, get out of maybe even the retro arena, it's kind of hard. Like, there are fundamental differences between a lot of, like,
I don't
shooters.
think so. I don't think that once you have
a bigger company is going to take that risk.
I don't think so. We have cases where, you know, the whole Modern Warfare and Infinity War debacle, right? So those guys go off to a new studio, and then they start making a first-person shooter, because that's their expertise. And, you know, Activision just doesn't they're just pissed off. And Activision has lawyers. And Bobby Kotick is a dick. That's it, you know, and now he's got a case precedent of EA versus Zynga, and EA's winning, that game is too similar, and then he goes in with the same arguments. This game is too similar. Here are screenshots.
I guess it would be kind of like...
If you start taking first-person shooters, if I take Gears of War and Modern Warfare and start going down, I can line up screenshots, and you'd be like, yeah, look at that, man, that's the same game. Look, he's got the scope mode and the scope mode, you know, it's like left trigger to zoom in, right trigger to shoot, you know.
Well, it would be like Harmonix, you know, creating Guitar Hero.
Harmonix and Guitar Hero,
getting dropped by Activision and then creating Rock Band and that.
Activision could very easily have gone after, in this kind of world.
Yeah.
Like I said, that's going to be the case precedent. It's case law.
Yeah.
And that's going to be the precedent, and it's going to be taken too far, and it's going to have to be fought to be dialed back.
I don't think it's going to run rampant, but there will be, like, whoever takes the first, you know, like the opening salvo in that, it's going to be interesting.
So I think we may just find out we prefer a world of Fortress Crafts and, you know, Farmville, you know, taking over Farm Town.
Well, I mean, as we've discussed, the line between a ripoff and a, you know, an homage is somewhat subjective.
Yes.
There is a gray area there.
Yes, and it's a nice black and white line to say, well, you created your own assets. It's your own name. The rules of a game cannot be copyrighted. They're not under protection. So therefore, as long as you have changed the assets, you're good. You know, you're not using their code. You wrote your own code. You use your own assets. You created your own art. Then you're good, and you can do that. So, yeah, I mean, and there have been cases in the past, like we talked about the other week with the Gianna sisters ripping off Mario Brothers so blatantly that Nintendo went after them. Now they just cease and desisted, and these guys backed down. So there wasn't actually a lawsuit level.
Well, in a lot of cases, I think that's the way it ends up working. Like it's the legal pressure, not, you know, like an open and shut sort of precedent.
Good article on what went wrong in the making of Journey. I'm really tempted to go in and play Flower, Journey, and the other game that came from that game company. They did like 3 PS3 exclusives. I don't know that they're going to be able to come to Steam because they were done exclusively for PlayStation. It was kind of their contract. So it's kind of a post-mortem-y type, you know, thing. Now, it came from a talk that they covered everything, right and wrong. And the article I thought was pretty cool because the article goes in and it really just focuses on all these negatives and the one woman who's left that game company as the one saying all these things, you know, almost in the light of like trash talk. But you read it and it's obvious, very obviously not trash talk. It's very obvious. Not her blaming, oh, the studio is awful. It's all like, yeah, we were on the team and we made these mistakes and we feature creeped and we didn't define this up front. Like, it's always we. It's always like she's taking blame as much as everything else. And it's just kind of a lessons learned post from things going wrong. What I find great is at the comments, let's see. Where's the guy? The other developer.
Posted in comments?
Yes.
Wow.
Yes. Here we go. Kelly Santiago, I think is the name. Or maybe it's a Kelly with 2 L's and 2 E's, so maybe that's another woman. But basically, like, it's not her intention to badmouth, and unfortunately, Gamasutra's author here, Cassandra, only decided to focus on 25% of her talk and the 5 specific things that went wrong and omitted all the rights. And, you know, that was the first half of the talk, and it was more of the timeline.
Is there going to be a second article, maybe? I mean...
Well, supposedly, like, the talk from TGC will be available at some point, so, you can go get, like, the whole talk. So that should be worth checking into. I don't understand why the Assassin's Creed 3 team keep shooting their mouths off on things, but it does seem like they're constantly in like, it's still a great game, and, there was another statement somebody said of, like, people don't want new IP. They love sequels, and sequels are still innovative.
Actually, I would not disagree with that first part. Like, I mean, people...
I would say the marketplace sequels sell better.
Yes. But, I mean, there's still a desire for it. Like, in place of sequels, they would probably take another good IP, but the
I don't think it's true to say that people want sequels over new IP. I think they want new original good IP, and they also want, when it's good and fun, they want to play more in that universe.
Yeah. I'm saying it's like people take what they're given, and sequels are the safe ones.
But I'll say that sequels probably sell better.
Yes.
And anyway, Alex Hutchison, the real foot and mouth line, was accusing the game journalists of subtle racism, that they give Japanese game developers an easier time than the American developers, and there's this big, just, racial bias. Which, if you want the if you want the game journalist community to ever attack your game, call them racists. Like, at what point...
No one wants to be thought of as a racist.
At what point do you put this guy behind, like, a PR filter and go, like, no, you can't be unfiltered anymore. You say dumb shit.
Now, here's the weird thing. Like, if you read this article, what he says is, some of the Japanese games that people think are brilliant are just kind of unintelligible, and, a game like Gears of War 3 is, just has this terrible story or something. And I think, because I think we've kind of alluded to this before, like, there is a difference in the styles, and I'm assuming there's a difference in the way the journalists... I think you could make
all of that is lost when you open with the statement,
because
you want my real answer. I think there's subtle racism in the business, especially for the journalist side, where Japanese developers are forgiven for what they do. I think it's condescending to do this, and he goes off about their muddled storylines and gibberish.
That's my point. I don't see why this couldn't have been a stylistic issue rather than a racial issue. Like, it.
Also, I don't agree. I do not think game journalism is giving Japanese developers... With the podcast and everything I listen to, Nintendo's getting a bunch of shit right now,
Right, and I don't pay attention to enough game journalism to know, but I would venture to guess that some game journalists, it's very clear that, like, what he's saying is true. Probably not the industry as a whole.
I think what it is he's got one article he's pissed about. He specifically mentions Bayonetta, and so I think he's pissed that, like, Bayonetta, I don't know, maybe got a higher score from one site than that, and he thinks it shouldn't have. And
I think the implication...
It's a lot of sour grapes. I'm sorry, this is the way I take it. Just a lot of sour grapes.
The implication was that the story of Bayonetta was better than the story of Gears of War, and I think part of that, considering what Bayonetta was and what, like, the appeal of it was,
All right, so this episode, we're going to get into the meat of the episode at the moment, because the other news item that I've got here really is that Nintendo Power ends at the end of the year. So at the end of the year, they'll cease publication of Nintendo Power. Now, the Nintendo Power is not published by Nintendo anymore. Hasn't been since like 2006 or 5 or whatever. The company that publishes Nintendo Power, they are a kind of a journalism group, and they write like an Xbox magazine and a PlayStation magazine and a couple other things. So they're just going to reallocate these guys, and they've kind of known that Nintendo has not had an interest in Nintendo Power, because they've said Nintendo has not been willing to move it digital, get it online, update it for the modern times, and they also don't think Nintendo's bringing it in. So I got the newsletter from Nintendo, and then it was like a fan letter you got for free, and then there's like an issue that came and it's basically said, hey, the fan letter, which is like a couple pages, it's just a typical newsletter in the mail. it's going to end, and we're going to have a magazine. And Mom signed us up for 3 years out the gate. And I got a little pin. So you get these little pins. I don't know how long they did them for. But if you subscribe for 1 year, you got a copper pin and 1 band. 2 years, you got a pin with 2 bands in silver. And then 3 years, I got the gold pin and 3 stripes on it. I also got, for one of the times that we renewed, and I think Mom ended up buying a couple more, renewing more, because I think we each ended up having, but I've got the satin Nintendo Power jacket that has Mario's head on the back. I mean, it's a straight up 80s looking, it's like a members only type jacket, but it's all satin silk, shiny reflective, it's black and white, and the one, I think my brother has a green one, I have a red one. It says Nintendo Power down the sleeve, and then there's a big Mario silhouette, or outline, of Mario on the back of the jacket. I'll probably wear that to GameMarx or something at some point, when it gets a little cooler and get that back out.
Those things are worth, like...
I don't know what they're worth, because I had a hard time trying to, like, find it online, to even find pictures of it.
I know one of the jackets, like, I remember seeing it on...
there were later jackets that apparently were much more popular, because I'm finding them a lot more over, so maybe I need to get on, like, the eBay and start digging around and see if I can find photos of this jacket. So, I went over to Dad's house, and we stacked up and saved our Nintendo Powers. Now, not all of them have survived, obviously. I think I got a stack of 30 or so.
Yeah.
And we subscribed from, like, 87 to at least 96, I think we've come across. We were getting Nintendo Power. And, obviously we don't have all those episodes. I mean, those would be a ton of issues. They fall apart after a while, they get lost, they get torn up, and get tossed out. But we would try to save them aside and keep them in a stack, because you never knew when you were going to get a game, that you had older issues, so now you could go back to the older issues and look at that. So we kind of went through them to kind of do like a Nintendo Power send-off, because all 3 of us, this is like a significant portion of memories of our childhood.
I think I had like I started on maybe the 3rd issue, and we always subscribed in 1 year, segments, and I don't know why Mom and Dad did that. I guess presumably because at some point I would probably want to stop, except I think I kept going to the point where they were only covering N64, and I never got an N64, so...
Yeah, why do
stopped.
that? So the issue that I've got here is 1989 July August. I think it's the oldest one that we found in the stack that we still have. This issue, I don't have the cover, but judging from the lead article here, I think it's a Mega Man 2 issue. Big full color, spread on Mega Man 2, explaining the platforms, what the 1, 2, and 3 platforms did in Mega Man 2. What else did I mark that was
I remember using that issue to play Mega Man 2.
It's got... I don't know if he was actually called Nestor at this point. There was Nestor and Chester. Like, Chester was a real dude.
No, that was Howard.
Oh, Howard and Nestor. Yeah. So Howard looks like a real dude. Nestor was like this cartoon guy in there. But I don't think he had a name at this stage, because I don't remember him ever being referred to as Nestor. But he was just on all the pages. Little dude, there. I marked a good tip here. If you wanted to know, how do I collect stronger weapons? Where are the sweater and the pitchfork in Friday the 13th? Which was just an ass game. I mean, this thing was generally a big ad for Nintendo games.
Yeah.
It was not objective writing.
One thing we
here.
noticed when we were going through these things is it would talk about the review of this game, and it wasn't a review, it was a strategy guide.
Yeah, it was like strategy guides and everything. In fact, so in this issue, Born of Legend, an RPG unlike any before... This is, I think this is the first Dragon Warrior preview. You have, like, the Dragon Warrior issue.
I think we found, like, 3 or 4 different issues that have a Dragon Warrior
But I think you have, like, the Dragon Warrior issue that I think you could subscribe and get Dragon Warrior. There was a time where that was true. And it's awesome because this thing starts out, and it's what is an RPG? You know, it's like, hey, this is 1989. You guys may not know what an RPG is. If you're curious, it's a game in which you take on a role like an actor in a play, except in the game, you don't have a script to follow. Everything takes place is dependent upon choices you make as you search for golden information and battle through the wilderness between towns. Each time you give a command to fight an enemy, unlock a door, or speak to a passing peasant, you are changing the course of action. Now, that is some marketing bullshit of what RPGs were back in the day. Like,
well, actually,
Mass Effect now, like, yeah, you're shaping the world. Dragon War, you weren't shaping shit,
compared to what, compared to other games around at the time, you know, this is the equivalent of Bill Gates saying no one will need any more than 640K.
The other thing that I marked in this inaugural, or the oldest issue that we have here, is a wonderful celebrity profile on Michael Dorn. And these things were horrible in the back. These were probably written by PR, you know, at Nintendo.
Actually,
and just like, can you endorse this? Can you just endorse this? Because, like,
yeah, he
basically says, and this is slightly racist, Michael Dorn. I'm just going to have to say, like, I don't know what all this means, but asked about his favorite game.
Klingons are not exactly, you know.
Asked about his favorite game. He says, my favorite game is Duck Hunt, because when I was younger, my brother and I played Indians. And for some reason, Duck Hunt reminds me of Indians. I could play forever. Now, he didn't even say cowboy and Indians. He didn't say, like, you know, the gun, you know, and the zapper is kind of like when we played cowboy and Indians. Just Indians. Just, we used to hunt Indians, you know, like, that was fun for us. And that little duck looks like it could have, like, a little star over its forehead and a little turban or something.
Wait, no. I think you're talking about the other kind of Indians, like, Star
Possibly. Possibly he's talking about Native American Indians. I don't know.
You know, what
Michael thinks that if Worf would play Nintendo, the game would have to be very serious. Like a cross between The Legend of Zelda and Punch-Out. Tell me that's not marketing copy.
Yes, that probably is. Like, actually, what I hear subtly in the, you know, I like Duck Hunt because, you know, me and my brother used to play Cowboys and Indians, is back in my day we went outside and played.
Oh, what do you got there, Dylan? What issue you're holding?
This is the January-February 89 issue, Zelda 2. The first part of the Zelda 2 strategy guide.
Okay, so that was before this one. Yeah, okay,
yes.
You did have an earlier one.
And Zelda 2 was one of the earlier games that I actually played. Like, after, you know, Super Mario Brothers, which came with the system. What I thought was interesting in this is, you know, we talk about a lot of games. We talk about a lot of these old retro games, but I don't think we realize just how much we were helped out by, like, strategy guides and things like this. And the copy they've got in here is also funny, considering I spent, like, the last week and a half writing help documentation and training videos. Because usually you have to do that stuff at work.
Right.
And you think, they're just stating the obvious, but Hyrule has greatly changed. Unlike The Legend of Zelda, the game consists of 2 viewpoints. In the overhead view, Link can hike along the roads or venture into the wilderness. If he meets an enemy off the road, suddenly he is thrown into the side view action screen where he must do battle. Like, that seems intuitive. Like,
that's what happens.
That's what happens. Like, this is how you
right out of the gate. Like, you leave Princess Zelda there asleep, and you hit some little black blobby thing.
Yes.
Yeah.
We thought this was awesome, probably because, you know, none of your training videos for work look like this.
That is amazing. Do you have one there, Cicely? Did you tag any?
Well, the ones we didn't subscribe. We were allowed to get specific issues if we had need of them, like the Battletoads one we did, but the one I have right here is the one that has Nintendo, the Metroid on.
So what's the date on that issue?
Let's see. This one is Volume 31.
Look at the table of contents. It'll say.
Okay.
Usually down the column.
To December 1991. So when I was 10 years old, and my brother Jeremy had just gotten his Game Boy. This was when the Metroid issue came out for the Game Boy. And then, of course, there's also Tiny Toons and other crappity crap like that in there. But they had a little game in here called Act Raider. No, it was Act Raider. That's what I thought.
ActRaiser?
Fancy stuff. I can never read it. I never remembered what it looked like. And I don't remember playing it. I'm pretty certain my brothers at some point have played it. But it's Metroid with different names crossed with one of the Sega games. What's the one that's like where he says, "Rise from your grave"?
I have no clue. I didn't play a lot of Sega.
All right. I did a crap job out of keeping these in order. Because I thought I had the oldest one first, but now I'm looking at this and it's like, no, I have the December 1988.
Well, we shuffled, like all three of us shuffled.
We were shuffling them out.
So
the reason that I marked the December 1988, because this one, I believe, marks the first appearance of Captain Nintendo. Now, when Captain Nintendo came on the scene, this was not the cartoon. Okay, this is pre-cartoon. No character design. This is basically 2 or 3 pages of fan fiction of just short story right in the middle. I mean, you don't get this anymore. Like nobody just puts like short stories right in the middle of.
Well, no one's gonna create a character like Captain PlayStation or Xbox Kid or something.
Here is part 1, and this is the birth of Captain Nintendo. It was one of those. Excuse me. It was one of those sort of can't make up its mind if it wants to be gray or sunny kind of days. Just awesome out the gate writing.
This
a typical day for Redmond, Washington, home of the headquarters for Nintendo of America Incorporated. No marketing ladenness whatsoever. Maxwell W. Powers. I'm going to let you know right now. I'm going to spoil this for you. Secret identity of Captain Nintendo. Lumbered into the research and development special projects department with a package that had been delivered to data entry by mistake. Max's best friend, Brett Randalls, put his Metroid game on pause and turned his attention to Max. Get a little plug in there. Metroid, out. Come on, go buy it. Ho ho ho, said Max. I have a nice package for some little tech head who's been very good this year. It says Napja microchips. Napja is Japan spelled backwards there. For the advanced reader. Like, insights. Avoid exposure to moisture and extreme temperatures. All right, exclaimed Brett. We've been waiting for those. So where's Tara? Have you two interfaced yet? Get the lingo in there. Now the kids know it's edgy, and it's like lingo that the kids use. Miss Bates went out for coffee, said Brett indignantly. And no, but I've been trying to boot up my Courage files all day to ask her out.
Stab in the face.
It's about time. You've had a huge crush on her for 6 months. Hey, what are you two Goldilocks doing? Tara returned.
Oh my
so
God.
Anyway, they go on. There's banter. They drop in the special microchips, and oh dear God, Ganon is real and alive, but I'm blasted. And what is this? I have strange powers now. This is only part 1, by the way. This gets continued in later issues.
Because fanfiction.net didn't exist.
It did not. It did not.
And the world was a better place.
We are all worse off for it.
What do you got, Dylan?
What's funny, I didn't mark this, but I wanted to point out, like the Captain Nintendo, there's one of these issues here that they had a section on music, and they were talking about, like, Debbie Gibson and Hugh Lewis in the news and Julian Lennon. And reading stuff like this, like, back when we were kids, we thought this was awesome, but having, done a podcast and run a review site, I kind of wonder if they were just trying to hold things together and fill, like, sure, we'll do something about music. Let's try that. Anyway, like I said, there were 4 or 5 issues that had stuff about Dragon Warrior in it. I found one that talks about strategy tips for levels 1 to 5, such as your first and greatest need is for experience. Only by defeating mini slimes and red slimes will you gain experience points necessary.
At least they were honest.
Level 3,
bitches.
Level 3, having learned the spell of healing, you can now attack more dangerous creatures. Like,
the magician?
Yeah, let's see.
No, probably just a skeleton.
In coal, level 5, in coal you will find magical items for sale. Be sure to buy one of these. It's just funny because, like, again, role-playing games, if you go back to that history of RPGs, they do talk about, how they kind of had to prep the American market for what these
and it kind of explain how that you would play these.
Yeah.
You got something else marked in that issue.
I also do. They talked about Captain N. Like, again, this is one of those things that we
this is a little bit further. We got
crap.
like drawings now of Captain N in the Nintendo jacket, and
yeah. I think this is different. I don't think the fanfic had anything to do with Captain.
Well, it probably, because like the fanfic ends in like a issue or two, and it probably percolated around and then began to morph into Captain N.
Yeah. The last issue we told you about a television program based on the Mario Brothers. There's another television show coming your way based on Nintendo and licensee characters. Again, we thought that was awesome, and then now it's kind of like...
That's the thing, like...
What the hell?
As bad as
green.
As bad as the writing is on, like, how to play these games and all that, like, you poured over every article, every word, read that, usually when you couldn't play the game,
Yes. Well, just, like, there's a lot of games I only knew from Nintendo Power.
You got another issue to mention there, Cicely?
Yes, a little bit earlier from the one that I had. This one is volume 21. Issue, where is it? February of 1991. So back earlier in that particular year. I just found it funny about the NES Achievers list that came out with each issue.
I couldn't find one where they actually showed you. Sometimes they did. They showed you the actual photos that people mailed in for the high scores. Like, as a bit of graphic. But yeah, that's what you had to do to get on the high achievers list. Like, you get the high score, and you take your Polaroid camera or your 35mm film camera and take a photo of a TV, and then get that developed, and have some blurry-ass TV photo, and then mail that in, and then you would get listed in... Sometimes, like,
yes,
they only covered certain games, certain issues, so if they just chose not to list that game...
I remember they had a challenge for Super Mario Kart, and I played the crap out of the level that was the challenge for the time trial, and I took a picture, and we got it developed, and again, this was, back when you had to develop an entire roll of film, and... we went out of our way for this, and it turned out badly, as most pictures taken of a TV screen do, because you got the scan.
And the line, yeah.
And, then when the next issue came out, I wouldn't have even made the list anyway.
This one that I've got here is volume 16, and September-October 1990. But it is the second, I think, Final Fantasy... issue. So, like, this thing went on for several issues. And what they would do after, like, running that content for 2 or 3 issues is, we got one down there for, like, sports games or something. There would be a strategy guide issue that just recapped. And so they kind of reused that content and sold it up.
It depends. That kind of came later for Nintendo Power, it seems like. They never really had like a consistent strategy guide thing going on. It's funny going back and looking at all these old magazines, like years worth of old magazines. You can definitely tell where they kind of hit this point where they were like, let's try this thing. And then it didn't, it lasted a year or so.
In the last issue, another special item was needed to reach the Sky Castle, a cube, and it is hidden behind a waterfall. Now we'll explore the waterfall and the tower, but if all is not revealed, don't worry. Next issue's Nintendo Power Strategy Guide covers Final Fantasy in detail. Can you honestly see, like, some kid, like, playing up to the waterfall and going, oh, that's as far as they got me, I guess I gotta stop? You know? Like...
No, but I
in retrospect, I was like, what the hell were these for? Like, did we get any useful information out of this thing?
Dude, that one I used... Well, maybe it was the Final Fantasy Strategy Guide I used for that. Because it had more details. Like, it actually had all the weapons and all the spells and all the different stats and recommendations. But I remember playing Dragon Warrior. I used the crap out of the strategy guides. The ones that were not, like, noob tutorials.
Which one are you holding there?
This is the...
Oh, now see the classified... Sorry to interrupt, but the...
That's okay.
The classified information section...
Yes.
This was the shit.
Yes,
this was like the... That's where you went to see if your game was covered, because that's where cheat codes would be. So, like, here's a Tetris from agent number 276. They just put random fucking numbers up there. Like, they had, like, hundreds of agents.
Maybe you get to pick your number.
That'd be cool.
That would be cool.
All the best Tetris players know to get, you know, many lines as possible, 4 lines at a time. Our agents have found a way to get a head start on Tetris by scoring an immediate Tetris. Watch the game demonstration before starting and wait till a Tetris is scored. As soon as the screen begins to flash from the Tetris score, there was a lot of fucking codes that were that way of like, as soon as this event happens or that flashes, you have to do something.
What's interesting, I ran across one of those classified information for Zelda 2, where you play like a high-level character. You know, get some major level up or, you know, some major amount of XP. Then you immediately save while it's, you know, calculating, and you start a lower level character, and it'll get, like, as a programmer, I go back and say, I know what's going on there.
So, as soon as the screen begins to flash from the Tetris score, press the start button, choose the game type, start the game. The screen will continue to flash until the first falling piece is placed, and you will be rewarded with the appropriate score for a Tetris at that level. When you use this trick, make sure that you press the start button before the Tetris has completely cleared the demonstration mode. So basically, I think this would probably work for anything. If you watch the demo and it starts to clear a line, they weren't clearing out the game state when they initialized the game, and you got that score when the game launched. But that was the awesome kind of shit in the classified information section. That was just awesome. That was the best section of the magazine. That, and when they started doing the actual game reviews at the back, where they had their 0 to 100 score, and they were all like tiny little blocks. I love just flipping through those and reading the games. They would just give like 15, 5, 20. Like, what did you do to fucking Nintendo where they would take your NES game and just give it a 5? You pissed somebody off there.
Oh, let's see. I have an issue here from November, December 89. Again, there's a flowchart. A flowchart of how to play Dragon Warrior. Begin the game. Collect information from villagers. Buy necessary items. Venture into fields and dungeons. Defeat enemies. Collect experience and gold. Cover lost hit points at the end. Go back. Repeat until save Princess Gwaelin, defeat the Dragon Lord. The last two, like...
Grind, finish the game.
Grind, finish the game. Yeah. Of course, they have to cover every menu option.
The one I'm holding here now, let's see, Volume 40, September 1992. The reason I selected this one, I was looking for a good one. But at the Nintendo, after a bit, started to have contests in every... They always had like a contest where you could win like a subscription. But they would have contests in there, and the prizes just got crazy and insane I heard somebody talking about on Giant Bombcast of like win RoboCop's car, and they said like they researched online of like the guy that actually won RoboCop's car, the kid that got all that. Like they had to strip it of all the police stuff, so it just showed up of like this like gray Chevy Nova, that was all like parted out for the movie and shit, and like it said RoboCop or something on it in one place, and that was it. Like it was a total crap gift. But this one in 92 here, in September of 92, the grand prize was to hang out in Hollywood with DJ Jazzy Jeff and the Fresh Prince. This is 92, so DJ Jazzy Jeff was still getting top billing at that point. Spend the weekend in sunny California. Jam with the award-winning rappers on your own The Miracle Piano Teaching System. Do you remember that shit?
I had it.
No.
We had
that?
Yes. Me and my cousin who came over every Christmas, we would all jam out and have like stupid little parties up until all hours of the night because mom would like be like, fuck it. Their children, it's Christmas, whatever.
Yeah. This was a ghetto-ass MIDI keyboard that connected to the Nintendo.
Wow.
That's what that was. Second prize, if you're curious, the complete music library by DJ Jazzy Jeff and the Fresh Prince, which looked like at this point it was 4 albums. A bunch of t-shirts was the third prize. So, yeah, maybe I'll fill that out and send this in. The real reason you were filling out and sending this in, this thing has a hellacious survey on it that you have to fill out. If you had to make a decision to keep or eliminate The Legend of Zelda and Super Mario Bros. Comics and Nintendo Power, you would eliminate them both, keep Zelda but get rid of Mario, eliminate Zelda but keep Mario, or keep them both, or eliminate them both. What would you do?
Keep them both, because those were awesome.
No, the comics were awesome. All right, I'm keeping them both. This is a straight-up marketing survey. If you were going to purchase a Super NES, would you be more likely to purchase the $149 NES Super NES set, the $99 control set, which basically does not come with the game? I already own a NES. I don't plan on buying one now. Sadly, the $99 control set, control deck, one controller, RF switch, no game, no AV cables. That's about what the fucker goes for at the used game stores. Are you interested in seeing reviews on older classic games? I know I would have put yes on that. Like, always like the older game coverage. Does the price of the new control set, $99, affect your decision to purchase the NES? How old are you? Sex, male, female. Then list, in order of preference, your 5 favorite NES games, your 5 favorite Game Boy games, and your 5 favorite Super NES games. Please give us, and you had to code it. So, like, couldn't just write in, like, I like Metroid. You had to go to this list on the back and find Metroid, which would have been NES games, number 51, and then you could write number 51 on the card. I guess if your game wasn't actually listed on the back, they didn't give a shit about it.
It is not your favorite game now, I swear.
That's
what I got.
I have an issue from January, February 1990. We have the Tetris Strategy Guide, which was kind of punctuated by this story of Howard and Nestor getting turned into claymation Tetris blocks. I do remember this, the Nintendo Gear and Stuff catalog. This was not an actual catalog you could buy from. This is just somewhere in the world there's a store that has this stuff.
Yes, that was awesome, and like you could see like sleeping bags of Nintendo and shit was in there. And then also, like, every now and then they would just put out like a listing of all the games.
Yes.
Who the publisher was, what the title was, what the genre was.
But this one hurt because, like, I wanted these things. I wanted all of these things, and there was nowhere around here you could find it. Although I think I ended up getting the Felicity ended up getting the Super Mario Brothers pinball set at one point, and the 1990 calendar. I wanted this stuff so bad.
Yes.
There's one other thing. Oh, there's the preview for Super Mario Brothers 3. I remember that was a game that they teased you with several times, before the official release.
Now, I don't know about that one, but Link 2, Legend of Zelda 2, Link's Awakening.
Wait, Link to the Past? Or Adventure of Link?
Adventure of Link. Was titled the most anticipated game of all time. So I don't know what they called Super Mario Bros. 3 then.
That was the second issue. Like, Zelda was like the second issue, so there you go. But Mario 3, I remember seeing like the articles, and they gave you almost nothing.
Well, there was, and it probably got destroyed. We probably don't have it anymore. They had a Super Mario Bros. 3 issue.
Yeah.
That was almost a complete, walk through the entire game.
That was much later. There was a point where they were like, we're going to monthly, I think, and then there will be an issue, and then a strategy guide, and they did 4 of those.
Yeah,
and I think that was it.
Super Mario Bros. 3, we replayed the game a shit ton just because we had that guide, because it showed you all the different special things in all the worlds that you could do.
I think we had beaten it like 5 times before we decided to buy that to see if we'd missed anything.
Oh, I had like I said, a lot of these games, because I got games on my birthday and Christmas. That I would get one game maybe.
See, Mom worked at a toy store, so we got games all the time.
Yeah, but I mean, I would read this, and occasionally I'd rent.
So what's that one you got there? The issue date?
Battletoads issue, volume 25. Let me find it, because this one...
That's got to be like a 94?
93?
It 94? Is June 91. And
June 91?
This...
Holy shit, that's when they had the Super Nintendo preview.
They announced the Super Nintendo, yeah. But this was very early, because I just love some of these things, though. What can you expect from the new 16-bit machine? This article will answer some of your questions, but others can't be answered until you actually see, hear, and play the Super NES in person. For example... static photographs cannot reveal the impression of depth that is given by multiple scrolling backgrounds.
Parallax, baby.
Or how about this? In the case of the Super NES, the resolution is a very impressive 512 by 448. It has resolution, rotation, moving characters, color layering, 32,768 colors. Scaling. That was all I had for that.
Yeah,
that's all I got.
Issue.
Yeah, I thought they wanted some more.
Since GA Tech Crowd was asking about the top lists, it was top 30, so I got the 98 December issue, November-December issue. It was top 30, and yeah, those cards probably did affect the position, because before they were... doing crazy giveaways and stuff like that. It was just basically fill out the player's poll card and, just here's the games, list them out. This is why you know that list was bullshit, because there's 112 titles that you could pick then, and there was like 100 titles you could pick in that later one for the NES. So you could tell they just didn't care about all games.
You are not our favorite children.
This was a little bit more... less markety, more how did we do in the issue, because the questions for the player's poll card was please indicate how much you liked each article in this issue. Their Captain Nintendo story, NES Journal, Mailbox, Video Spotlight, what sections do you like in the magazine, and of our game reviews, which one did you like most this issue? So, less... would you buy a Nintendo at $199? $149? And the grand prize winner at that point was, you would get like 5 games.
Yeah.
But they had like a ton more winners. It was like 175, winners, and 80 grand prize winners, and...
One of the things I had flagged was the Zelda and Mario comics.
Yes, and they were Players Pick, Pros Pick, and Pros Pick, and Dealers Pick were the 3 categories. which I always like poured over those like they were all like legit and they weren't like manipulated just to make it seem like here's a way that we can get all the games we want you to buy listed in the top 30.
Yeah, but the comics were pretty awesome because I remember loving those just because they were Mario and Zelda, but they actually like tried to tell you how to play the game through comics.
I mean, that's it. Like everything in the magazine, whether they did a comic or a story, would like be constantly littered with references to games and things to do in the games and hidden secrets about the games. Like it never was not, at least the older issues we're going through, directly selling you games. Every page, every article was selling you Nintendo.
Yeah, and they assumed you already, you know...
It's like not like this is a bad thing. It's not like this is not what we wanted. You know?
Well, it's just funny how, you know, it's kind of this hidden thing that you go back and play these old games, but you realize we were fed a lot of information up front. Like one of the ones I'd pulled out for Link to the Past, you had a full map of the light world, you know, with, you know, and then there was a page for each segment of that map. Now, of course, when you got to the Dark World, you were kind of on your own. There was the point at which Nintendo Power stopped helping you.
He was saying you should see The Wizard with Michael Savage. The movie, that was Fred Savage.
Yes.
And yeah, that's pretty much...
I don't think I ever saw that just because, again, movies in the 80s. Why are we going to go to a movie? We have cable. That's what we pay for cable for.
It's not a great movie, but it is kind of a classic. It is sort of a cult classic.
One of the podcasts I listened to, they watched it recently and did an entire dialogue on what the movie was, and I'm like, I don't need to see it again now.
What's interesting about going back to the comics though, and perhaps some of the other content was, I was talking about this to a friend a couple months ago. Like, I bought this book for King's Quest that told you basically it was a walkthrough of the entire game, but it was written in the style of, I found these letters from someone in Daventry. So there was this kind of this plot and this story that you were reading through, but it was really a tip. And that's really what the comics are like. It would be interesting if someone could figure out a way to work that into modern games where you get some sort of ebook, and the idea is you really need to read through the ebook to figure out what's going on. You don't have to, but...
Yeah, maybe. Well, let's get this wrapped up.
Yes.
Kickstarter, I'll have a link to this article. This is a really good article. Camouflage posted their lessons learned from their Kickstarter on there. Some interesting points was that they said the video was too polished, and that they gave the impression that why would you guys need money? You guys obviously have tons of money to do this video. I think they put too much stock into that and not into, they don't accept enough how launching an iPad-only game hurt them. And he does say that, but it's like they put the video too polished way above, like it's a big deal, and the you know, like, making the PC version as, like, not as big a deal.
Did they rank this by the number, like, I'm sure they got feedback from people, and, you know, is it something that, you know...
Yeah, so they just kind of, like, downplay because their developer friends were all interested in seeing them make a really awesome, unique, full-on iPad, iPhone experience. But it was, you know, backer comments and everything were just constantly like, can we get this on the PC? I want to play this on the PC. Yeah. And as, you know, developers, I think they were just kind of biased to, we don't want to make a PC game.
Yeah.
So we covered it, you know, of course, and that was my comment of like, I backed that because it became a PC version.
I wonder if there's an element of, don't these people get it? You know,
right.
Mobile is the future. Tablets are the future.
Exactly.
This is where you want to
be. You know, asking 500,000. So, you know, there's some things on there that they go through, but, you know, overall, it's a really good read, and most of it I would agree with, you know, just out of what they took away from on their Kickstarter. You know, and a lot of it, though, is stuff you heard before, too, as well. So, Kickstarters this week. Not a good week. So, we'll be stretching a bit to get a few things out to just kind of round out the week. You know what? Somebody just mentioned GA Tech, or I mentioned in Tech. Dream Build Play was announced this week. We weren't listed. You can go to GameMarx.com and find a lot of the Dream Build Play contestant games. We covered them when they were trials. So, yeah, there's that. No matter what we think of Captain Dubstep, we have to accept that Moon Cheese beat us. Do you remember Moon Cheese?
Yes.
That shitty iPhone game that was put on the Xbox where you were even like locked. Like they didn't even like fix the perspective of the screen to fill the screen, so it was like
they just added
like a
bars.
Vertical horrible. Yeah.
And even Axiom Verge, the one that the game that we saw
nominated.
that yeah.
How could they not be nominated?
Your favorite game company though got on the list.
You know what? Silver Dollar Games, they've been on the list several times.
More power to him.
So
more power to him.
You got beat by your favorite game company.
Well,
actually,
I don't know. Like Jump Hero last year, you can't take anything away from Jump Hero. Yeah. One Finger Death Punch. I don't know if that's a Jump Hero. But yeah. So I don't know. Yeah, I guess we'll talk in the future more about the Dream Build Play, probably when the winter comes out. But my main disappointment in Dream Build Play was how many of these games have been out for a year. A year that we have coverage on them. We quit a year ago reviewing games, and we have coverage on games that are in Dream Build Play.
It's almost like if it releases past a certain date, it shouldn't be...
It almost shouldn't be out, I think...
Like, we should have been building for next year's Dream Build Plays.
Well, I think there's a lot of people who just... Like, Moon Cheese, they didn't even make a new trailer. The trailer links to the trailer from 2011. Why, all I did is go through, like, submit that one. Done. We submitted a game.
To be fair, we were focusing on one particular game competition. I'm sure there are a lot of game competitions like that where you can do that. Like, you take your game, it's been made, it's done.
Yeah, it just then what's the point?
Bulk submit.
If you want an award show, have an award show. If you want to have a game competition, these should not be games that have been out for a year.
I think it gets tough to regulate on the basis of when did you start working on it, when did you finish working on it, when did you release it. That's more policing than...
So anyway, Kickstarter, Broken Sword, The Serpent's Curse Adventure. This thing came swinging out of the gate. It was launched yesterday. It's almost up to $200,000 of its $400,000 goal. I guess Broken Sword is a series.
I've heard the name before.
Yeah, it's this click and point adventure series. The video, it talks about like doing this 2D gameplay. The video is definitely the 2D characters, So, I don't know, maybe it's hitting some nostalgia button or something. There's a built-in audience for this thing. But yeah, it came out pretty quick. Me just watching it, not knowing what the background is on this game. It's a click and point adventure, so I don't know that I've got room for a lot of those. I kind of want to play a click and point adventure after it comes out and everybody says, no, this is amazing. Like Machinarium. Everybody comes out later and it's like, yeah, that's a really good throwback point and click. And then I'm like, okay, then I'll check into it. But man, there can be so many, poor ones. So, Rousket in chat saying that Broken Sword was a great series. So yeah, not something that I knew of, but apparently $200,000 out the gate. So a lot of it. Next one, Pinball Arcade Star Trek The Next Generation. You may remember a while back we talked about, by the way, Dylan, let me play that again for you. You recognize that opening video sequence?
I'm guessing that's another Digital Juice from the same pack.
That's our game review. That's our game review banner and overlay and yeah, same Digital Juice package. So we covered this Farsight Studio guys. They had another pinball thing. What they do is they take a pinball machine, they break it down, they 3D model it, they render the exact physics, they use their emulator to run the exact code, and they basically make a digital replica. they're up to 31,000 of their 45. Their other one went off pretty crazy. So this is obviously, this appeals to a niche audience. And if you're into that, these are the guys that you want, right? Because they seek to archive, right? They're seeking to digitally preserve as best they can these pinball machines that, to be honest, are breaking down, nobody's getting parts for anymore, that the sun's setting on pinball machines. At some point, they're just going to be broken down, and there's going to be no more pinball machines. These things aren't going to work anymore. And the problem is a lot of these are all, like, custom made, you know, and so you just can't go buy parts like you can arcade cabinets or interchange a lot. So the problem with making the Star Trek cabinet, the Star Trek pinball machine, is the licensing cost. If you watch the thing, he's like, we have the license from the manufacturer to make the pinball machine, but, you know, we have to get rights from Paramount for Star Trek, and we have to get the actors, you know, that their image likeness, and we have to get rights to the audio dialogue from, you know, the audio that was used in an episode that then got used on the machine. So there's a lot of people to pay off, and, you know, let's face it, we were talking about Michael Dorn. He's probably a dick. He's probably like, I need a couple $100,000, you know, to use my likeness on an old pinball machine image. So that's really what the Kickstarter is for. I think they've already broken down, and they can model it, and they can make it all that, but they can't release it. And they've kind of been honest. It's like, if we were to do this at cost, you know, sell the game for what it would cost, I think he said it would be like $20, $30 for this pinball game. And he's like, that's not what they do. They sell like a base pinball emulator, and then you buy machines, and so they like kind of like, you know, $5 a machine or something like that. And they want to sell this at the same price because they want more people to play it and all that. So that's what the Kickstarter is for. If that's your itch, they are definitely the guys that you want to start checking out. Me, I don't care. You know, if I sit down and play digital pinball, I don't care if it emulates the physics of a real machine. Okay, like I said, it was a slow week, man. So I just threw some, like, wow, that's a thing on the list, and this guy's only asking for $2,000, you know, so, okay, you know, we can give him $2,000, but this is a guy who wrote a security book. So now he's written a game where you play a hacker and you learn Linux and ethical hacking through the game. Horrible little intro where the dude just, like, randomly runs around this office like he's sneaking or some shit, gets to a terminal and, you know, pulls up a little help menu and types ipconfig. What's funny is when he gets to the terminal and the whole, like, learn in Linux and ethical hacking.
It's running X, isn't it? No.
It's got C on there. What the hell's a C drive in Linux? Come on, man. For being a guy who wrote a security book and all this, like, you don't know your OSs very well. And then, like, the output of the command, it's not matching the Linux terminal. That's not what ipconfig looks like.
So it's not like he's emulating a Linux network inside of the game.
That would have been at least cooler than what
it probably would have been a hell of a lot more work.
Also, I think there's easier ways to learn Linux, if that's your thing. But he's asking for $2,000, and...
Well, I mean, Code Hero.
Code Hero, though, you have a code gun.
Yeah, it's more of a one-to-one sort of thing, but the same concept is learn this concept using a game.
Yeah, using a game. This is kind of less than that, because it's like, run to this terminal and enter Linux commands. Okay, I'm just learning Linux commands at a terminal. Like, there's no game. Whereas Code Hero, you have the gun, and you program the gun, and then when you shoot things, they do whatever you program.
I can think of a situation where maybe you would want to do this if you were dealing with multiple, you know, subnetworks and, like, some big complicated ethical hacking thing, but even so, like...
Yes. Slow week. So, this is a twin-stick shooter. I normally would not have mentioned a twin-stick shooter. Doesn't look like a whole lot. It looks okay. Graphics don't look bad at it, you know. Looks like it'll be done well. But he's only looking for $560. You know, so this is like... Guy, I think, is in high school. His breakdown of the money is wants to buy Reason 6.5, gets $100. He'd like to upload it to the XNA Creators Club, covering, you know, his fees and his website, you know. So, if you want to give $25, like, you know, help a new guy out, just kind of pay it forward, not for the game itself, but I mean, he's only looking for 560, and, you know, hey, that's, I think he said in here that he's been coding it over the summer, and, you know, would like to kind of, to get it out and release it. The funny thing is like, he says, like, you know, hey, if it gets on Steam, I'll give you the Steam copy. Like, no, dude, it's not happening, alright? That's not gonna happen from this. But, you know, give him the $25 so he can have, like, this warm memory, you know, of, like, how fun it was when he got started before, like, you know, in 5 years when he's getting laid off from On Live going tits up and, you know, he's burning his shares in a barrel to keep warm. Like, that'll be what he remembers, you know?
It's dark. That is extremely dark.
I am barely drunk enough for that sentence.
Also, I grabbed Pluck. He's already got funded, so if you want to throw a little bit more into this, you can. But same kind of thing, top-down arcade shooter, looks like a roguelike, but looks pretty confident on the graphics there for an early game. So yeah, if you want to just help another young developer starting out, not looking for much, a few bucks to pay for a license and, you know, get his start, get going, I would recommend either one of those two projects. Conclave. So, this is a neat idea, and I think it falls down on one critical area. I don't know if it's going to make its funding. Looking for $75,000. This is, I think at one point they call it a webtop game. So instead of tabletop, going for a webtop. And basically the idea is a online tabletop RPG, so that, like, you know, we don't have time to get together every night to play our game, you know, or get together once a week and have our D&D game, so we just want to go online and play it. The thing where I think it falls down on is there's not a role of the Dungeon Master. You're playing the pre-built-in quest, so you're just basically the adventuring party.
So it's its own system, it's its own storyline.
It's its own system, its own storyline, and I think that kind of, you know, it's like a web version of Neverwinter Nights would be kind of cool. But then again, so was Neverwinter Nights. And
you can still play that.
You can still go play that. And you know what? That was kind of awesome. Did you ever get deep into Neverwinter Nights?
I only played the single player, but I played it a little while.
I built levels and uploaded them to, like, the vault thing and you know, all that, and did 3D modeling, heavy amount of scripting. And then also would go online and would put my module out there for people to play online and, like, jump in and control monsters and do little DM things. And
I kind of bought it too late in the, you know, cycle to really get into that. It was like, if I do this, I'm the only one I know who plays, so what's the point?
The only downside was, like, you couldn't appear as the little short red-robed dungeon master. I guess that's like probably like license or anything. You could make yourself appear as a dungeon master character and actually just let the people know I am the dungeon master.
Cartoon.
But you could also take control of creatures or people and talk to them, and the player wouldn't know what you were controlling and what you weren't controlling. And, you know, so you could really DM. You could DM an online, you know, imagine Diablo that you could DM. That's what Neverwinter Nights was. You could also build your own levels. It's fucking amazing. It really was amazing. It'd be a good game for them to, like, redo. That's a game that needs to be modernized with what we know now. Free-to-play model would be great. Like, buy the DM kit. You know, play is free, DMs pay. Buy adventure series. Yeah, shit, get on that, BioWare. Like, because you're gonna fucking tank on your damn Star Wars thing. You gotta make it up somehow. Free to play Neverwinter Nights. Right there. That is my gift to you, BioWare. You can send that check to me. Just contact me, michael.neil@gmail.com. Zombie Cruise is back. We talked about this game originally. This was the one that's got kind of like this little full screen movie thing that has nothing to do with the game. Bit, you know, hey, look at breasts. Yeah, there you go. Type thing. You know, the thing I said about last time was that they didn't have much gameplay. They seem to have less. It's the same trailer, but it seems to be more story setting. But, like, I found it harder to get into the gameplay. So it's kind of like this top-down, sneaking adventure game type thing, I guess, where you're a DJ on a boat that gets infected with zombies, and you can kind of distract them with music type stuff, it looks like. They don't get a whole lot into it. The main thing that they really changed was they put out a PC version. So before, they were in the comments, we're sticking, this is an iPad game, that's what we want to do. It does not float on Kickstarter. They are also looking for 15,000 instead of 20,000. Everything else they're kind of looking for the same, so I don't know if the second time will be the one for this game. Could also just be a played out genre. You know? Zombies.
Stealth zombies.
Yeah, not interested. Why do I have Cypress and Heron's video game up here? This is going to be another one. Oh, yeah, this is, why did I put this up here? This is an iPad game. I probably would have... It's a nice, looking... Yeah, this is a big produced, nice looking, I don't know who Cypress Interactive are, but this is an Unreal Engine iPad game. You know, you can see the little touch controls on there, and I'm really kind of curious if that's gonna hit 250,000. And launched yesterday, not a bid. Let's refresh it just to see. Nope, not a bid. So again, doesn't matter how polished your video is, how big your company is, man, iPad titles, they're not what people fund on Kickstarter. This next one, Dies, Irie, Phantonium Elements. This is your JRPG of the week. Has an awesome JRPG looking logo screen. I mean, it almost says like Kingdom Hearts right there. You know? So they're doing an RPG. Guess what? It's JRPG. You got dialogue, you got story, you got turn-based combat.
Is it like a tactics game?
No, it looks like, because you have your party on one side, them on the other, and I don't even see like a move meter in these screenshots, but it could just be beta and early, and they might actually go to add that system in there. But $50,000, that's a reasonable sum to look for. So yeah, I mean, if you're looking for another JRPG, and those seem to do well, launched yesterday, not off to a super start, but getting there. It's getting there. $580 out of $15,000, so that might get funded. It might work. Why did I put this on here? Oh! I think I put this game on here. Number Stumper Fun Educational Games 329. This thing looks awful.
Aww.
But I think this is the first game for Windows 8. It's the first Metro Kickstarter. I think it gets that honor. I haven't seen one come out. And it's funny because it is for the Windows 8. I have developed a prototype for the Windows 8. It runs on the internet, on the tablets.
In your tubes.
Oh, there's no other reason to talk about that game. Here's something not tried before. The, Otakon is making an official game for the conference. That is basically a fighting game of cosplayers. So you got like your Naruto lookalike going on. Of course, they have like their own Otakon licensed mascots, and there was another mascot from like a podcast or something they mentioned, but it was like fan stuff on there. So it's a brawler fighting game type. Looks pretty basic, honestly. I mean, it's getting funded a lot. It's got $7,000 pretty much out the gate of the $20,000 that they're looking for. But it doesn't seem to have depth. Like, it just seems to have a stupid gimmick idea here of, hey, let's make an Otakon fighting game / brawler where you fight. The funny thing is like you fight in anime-themed venues. So it's like you don't even fight through like the convention center. Maybe they didn't get the license to that or something. I don't know. Last one that I have up, and like I said, it was a slow week. I didn't have a lot of like strong recommends. Funded like crazy out of the gate. Launched today, August 24th. Doubled already within 24 hours. Dreadball. Now, this is not a video game. This is a board game. Maybe the guys that created this or something are big, or they have a fan base or something built in. But this is kind of a more advanced board game, futuristic sports type play. They really don't get into a whole lot of the mechanics, which tells me this is hitting a different audience. This is hitting like, you might recognize Manic Games if you're into painting miniatures. Oh, because guess what? If you buy the game at $80 a pop, the miniatures are not painted. That's from fine print, you should know. Like, I was going down there and I was like, holy shit, $80, I gotta paint the miniatures?
That works, I guess, if you're into Warhammer, where that's...
Yes.
Well, I like to paint the miniatures, so we could do that.
Yeah, so I think the people who are liking to paint miniatures are all into backing the game, and doing that. But
I really don't fucking have time to paint the damn miniatures.
And I mean, like, they show, like, these wonderful looking miniatures. Just the idea that these guys are going to arrive unpainted. It's like, what the fuck's the point of that? They do sell, kits, paint kits, for the teams, too. So, like, you can get, like, 4-color paint kits that are the, colors that you would use. But already, like, somebody's in there, like, are you going to make 6-color versions so that you have, like, the gloss and the wash coats or something? I don't know what that means, because I'm not a miniature painting person, but apparently, it's like...
I mean, that seems very much like what Games Workshop does. You know, you buy the paints, you buy the miniatures, you can pretty much buy anything from them.
I do love that the referee is this little robot chick thing. They don't have a good shot of her... from the back, they do in the video, she has eyes in the back of her head. So it's like, in the future, the referee actually has eyes in the back of their head.
Love it.
I have no idea what the gameplay looks. It looks interesting. $80, man, is like, that's a steep amount to jump on a board game.
Well, I don't know.
But you got those miniatures, and those aren't cheap.
Okay, painted, let's talk. I gotta paint the damn things, and I have to buy the damn paints to paint the damn things.
Are they resin or pewter?
I think they're resin.
Okay, because I know that's I know Warhammer switched to that, and yet their prices are still the same or possibly more. But I mean, you buy a Fantasy Flight board game, you're looking at upwards of $50, $60, so it's not all that crazy.
8 plastic miniatures. That's resin.
No.
Yeah.
F that.
Yeah.
That's the ripoff.
Like I said, though, the kind of the world of board games and also the world of like Warhammer and that sort of thing prices are steep anyway.
I like my miniatures metal.
Yeah, you're not gonna get that on a Kickstarter for $80. It's not gonna happen. $80 gets you a copy of the game, a print of some cover art, digital copy of the rules. Oh wait, so that's no miniatures. $100 Copy of the game, Lucky Logan, Slippery Joe, signed print, digital copy. 140 or more sold out. Midgard Devils team, Skirter Sneak Steelers team. So the game contains one cooperation team, one marauder team. So okay, I guess there is. The game is going to contain 2 teams, yeah, and the dice and everything. So you could get the game for $80. It looks like. Just more of the teams come in the higher levels. And then, of course, they have goals to unlock, which I think they're already unlocked quite a few of the stretch goals. I mean, they're double. 40,000 the ref. Yes, they've already unlocked the ref, which was double. So they might not have any more stretch goals after that. All right. Well, that wraps up GameMarx for the week. We will be off next week. Dylan's going to be at Dragon Con. We're going to be at DevLink. So next week we'll kind of catch off, and we will be back in a few weeks. Thank you everyone who tuned into the live show, downloads the audio podcast, or watches this on YouTube. Have fun, everyone.